Portraits by Greyson Chance is a 12-track project that showcases how various people, events, and experiences impacted his life in 2018. Containing elements of everything from pop to indie to R&B, Portraits resonates as a very methodic yet natural journey that I've grown to appreciate more and more with each listen. I believe that not knowing who Greyson Chance is actually enhanced my enjoyment of Portraits. While most people remember Greyson Chance as the kid who sang a cover of Lady GaGa's Paparazzi in 2010, I, on the other hand, have never heard of him, and as a result, I had no pre-existing biases going into this album. I didn't view Greyson as the kid who had something to prove. I simply viewed him as another artist. While Portraits is solid enough to stand on its own, I will say that after doing research and learning its backstory, I gained a deeper appreciation for this album. To make a long story short, Greyson Chance became an overnight sensation at the age of 12. But after a few years of success in the industry, Greyson was dropped or denied by various labels. As music became less about passion and more about obligation, he gave up on pursuing a full-time music career and went back home to study law at the University of Tulsa. After 2 years in college, Greyson rediscovered his love for music, dropped out of school, signed a deal with an independent label, and began working on Portraits, which will go on to be released in March of 2019. Greyson describes Portraits as an album that embodies three themes: transformation, love and heartbreak, and redemption. As we dive through each individual track, we'll go deeper into this discussion of how each track encompasses at least one of these themes. On top of that, I will be giving my opinions for each track, and throughout this video, you'll also get to see how I would rank each song on this album. The record starts off with Shut Up, which is not only the lead single, but it's also the first song Greyson finished for the album. With this track, Greyson recalls an experience in Israel, in which he found himself talking circles around a guy he was interested in. He was afraid that if he let the conversation slow down, then his chances with this guy would be gone. While this isn't one of my favorite tracks on the album, I did find myself enjoying it more after learning this story. Shut Up is one of the safer songs on this project, and it feels underwhelming when compared to everything else. However, the story attached to this track helps to give a pulse to the album. You get to listen to the song, knowing that it wasn't just made to fit well on a music chart, and this is a huge positive for me. This tells me that the album isn't a cash grab, but it's a journey. And for this reason, I have more appreciation for Greyson Chance than I do for a lot of chart-topping artists. On another positive note, this track initiates a pattern we'll discuss a lot through this album, and that pattern lies in the layering of the production and vocals. Greyson Chance and its producer Willie Beeman do a phenomenal job of knowing when to let Greyson's voice carry the song, while also knowing when it's time to use the production as a progressive tool. While many producers have this talent, not all singers can carry a song in the way that Greyson Chance can. Pop music is often filled with smoke and mirrors, so I appreciate those moments of this album in which the production is either extremely simple, as with tracks like Bleed You Still and Seasons 19, or those moments when Greyson goes full-on a cappella, as he does with tracks like Shut Up, Timekeeper, and West Texas. The next track is Bleed You Still, which is one of my highly ranked tracks. There is one word that describes why I love this track so much, and that word is maturity. As we stated earlier, this album is encompassed by three themes. And while the first three songs all embody the theme of love, Bleed You Still also embodies this theme of transformation. Fans have known Greyson Chance since he was 12, so I completely understand the importance of transformation. Artists such as Ariana Grande, Beyonce, and Lady GaGa have experienced career highlights as they naturally showcase their growth. And while I have only recently discovered Greyson's music, I can tell that it took a lot of musical development to get to the point that he could craft and deliver this track in the way that he did. We get a very intentional blend of deep vocals in the verse and falsetto notes during the chorus. We get a smooth and soothing layer of vocals added to the second chorus, and the fact that the song ends directly after makes me want to hit the replay button. Lyrically, the start of verse 2 and the entire chorus are highlights for me, and overall, this is one of the songs on the album that I can't get enough of. The third track off of Portraits is Yours, an up-tempo song that is not only a dedication to romance, but is also an ode to his friends in Oklahoma. The way I feel about this track is similar to how I feel about Shut Up. It's not one of my favorites, but there are personal moments in the song, such as the mentioning of 2 a.m. calls, that add realism, heart, and soul to the album. On another note, the production of this track feels reminiscent of Cool by Troye Sivan, which is a positive for me. As we ease towards the second phase of the album, we get the interlude Plains, which leads to West Texas. West Texas is the first song that weaves together the two themes of love and redemption. With the interlude, Greyson tells the story of being scolded by his mom because he was using foul language at one of his early gigs. While the story is short, he's able to effectively expose a few details in regards to their relationship. We learn that his mom is strict with high expectations for her children, and we learn that, like with many of us, Greyson cares deeply about his mom's opinions and would never want to disappoint her. One of the highlights of West Texas is the chorus, specifically the first one. It's another example of Greyson's ability to vocally carry a song, and the way he so easily jumps from one octave to another is very impressive. White Roses was, in Greyson's words, the hardest song to write. As the first track that deals with the theme of heartbreak, White Roses carries a heavy presence, as it's representative of Greyson finally gaining the courage to write and reflect about a tough breakup. This is the first song in which we hear Greyson primarily utilize a lower octave with his singing. While it's been his style to hugely showcase his wide vocal range, I appreciate the decision to stay low with this track, as it adds a melancholic feel to the song. I also appreciate the placement of White Roses on the album's track list, because it exposes a level of artistic intent. Shut Up was the first song he wrote for the project, so it's the album opener. White Roses was the first song he wrote about his breakup, so it's the first breakup song we hear. The album's placement feels chronological, granting us the opportunity to envision the events of Greyson's life unfold in accurate time. The next three tracks, Lights, Black on Black, and Seasons 19, all serve the purpose of lightening the album's mood. Lights is an interlude that plays on humor as a Lyft driver lets Greyson know where the best strip clubs are in Vegas. This interlude is a quick reminder that life shouldn't always be taken too seriously, and this leads us to my personal album highlight, Black on Black. Black on Black is my favorite song off this album. Besides Yours, Black on Black carries the biggest pop influence. It sounds very reminiscent of Cheap Thrills by Sia, and compared to the other tracks that are more so ballads, Black on Black is an easy standout. Greyson embodies a narrative role in the verse as he takes us through the story of a fantasy hookup. In the chorus, he jumps octave mid-sentence in a way that sounds unreal, yet enticing every time you hear it. And his delivery in the bridge is very Gaga influenced. Think back to the bridges of songs like Dancing in Circles or Rain on Me, and you may find some pleasant similarities. The last thing I love about this song is its ability to showcase an unexpected side of Greyson Chance. Each song so far has helped to present Greyson as someone who is relatable, likable, and mature. I won't go so far as to say Black on Black is the wildest song I've ever heard, but it does showcase a bit of edginess and spontaneity. This is especially true when we hear standalone singles such as Boots, Honeysuckle, and Dancing Next to Me. All songs that prove there may be lots more to Greyson Chance than what meets the eye. Seasons 19 is lighthearted, and it could have served well as the album's last song. However, I do enjoy it as the song following Black on Black as it continues to lighten the album's mood. And while he does mention heartbreak at the end of verse 2, this song mainly seems to be about finding peace, about accepting that life isn't always fair, and letting go of the things you can't control. Thematically, the last two tracks have all been about transformation. While you could argue Black on Black embodies the theme of love, I see it as more of a showcase of change. More than any other song, Black on Black and Seasons 19 communicates to longtime fans that he's not a kid. Black on Black showcases growth through sensuality, while Seasons 19 represents growth through reflection. The instrumental components of this track are my favorite. If you listen to Seasons with headphones on, you can hear the small details in the production, especially as they are quickly isolated to the left and right sides. There is a moderate pacing to the song that feels like a breeze, and when Greyson sings the chorus, you begin to almost literally feel in motion. Seasons is ranked right in the middle for me, but everything starting from West Texas and up are songs that I absolutely love. Timekeeper is one of the most conceptually brilliant songs on this album. With this track, we revert back to the theme of heartbreak, but there is still a busyness in the production that retains the lighthearted mood we've gotten from the last two songs. Timekeeper and Seasons 19 are reflective tracks in completely opposite ways, so they work very well being placed next to one another. While Seasons is reflective from an effortless and peaceful perspective, Timekeeper is reflective with a motive. Greyson is trying to save his relationship by having his partner reflect on the good times. He's trying to prove that they've been compatible before and that with hard work, they can get back to where they once were. Timekeeper is a track that hits the mark in every aspect. The lyrics lack repetition and have their moments when they pack a punch. Greyson's melody sounds smooth and effortless, and his cadence in the verse feels dominant, yet it still flows well with the beat. The Timekeeper concept is unique, but it's simple enough that he can push the concept to the forefront without it feeling forced. This song is definitely one of the album highlights. Stand is a ballad that infuses the themes of heartbreak, alcoholism, and redemption. It feels raw and authentic, and it's one of the most deeply emotional moments within the album. One thing that Greyson mentioned in his interviews was how much attention he gave to the album's track list. He wanted everything to connect, and he wanted listeners to get the best experience out of Portraits by listening to it from start to finish, rather than putting it on a shuffle. We can look back on the last few tracks and really admire how smoothly the moods transition throughout this project. When we listen to Black on Black, we are overtaken by a fun and adventurous mood. Seasons 19 lyrically dives through some melancholic moments, but through the production and overarching theme, we still get something lighthearted and optimistic. The outro to Seasons connects to the intro for Timekeeper, a song that mostly dives deep but maintains a subtle pulse with the instrumentals. Lastly, we hear Stand, a song encapsulated by an unhinged sense of sadness, regret, and shame. Overall, this is a track I have no critiques for, and it only ranks in the lower end because I have to be either in the mood or exploring the album in order to listen to it. While every track ranking from West Texas and up, I tend to listen to more often on their own. Lakeshore is the track that brings Portraits to a close, and this is definitely one of the best album closers I have heard in a while. This track has purpose. I can't imagine another song coming after it. It makes you feel so many emotions at the end, and it's the perfect final chapter. As you can see, this one ranked in my top 3, and it's seriously interchangeable with Bleed You Still, depending on my mood. First off, let's discuss the intro. The production is flawless, it bounces from ear to ear, and it sounds rich. Greyson's falsetto delivery from start to finish is phenomenal. He's given great vocals throughout the entire album, but what he gave here is on another level and it needs to be fully appreciated. Not to mention, he also performed this one live and hit every single note. The lyrics, especially the opening set, are poetic and multifaceted at times. I could do an entire separate video breaking down the journey that this song takes us through, and that to me is a sign of a wonderful song. The way we gradually add to the instrumentals is great. It's very moderate, as Willie Beeman adds a fine detail here and there, and this all builds up to this climactic moment towards the end of the song, in which Greyson promises to always be there for the person he loves. Overall, I can't get enough of this song, and it makes me happy to have discovered this album. Portraits is an infectious body of work. While I find myself having to mentally prep before exploring this album, I'm pulled into it by the third or fourth song. There are tracks such as Shut Up and Yours that are underwhelming to me, but I understand and appreciate their purpose. On the other hand, there are songs like Bleed You Still, Timekeeper, and Lakeshore that were crafted so well and are highly addictive. Not including the interludes, Portraits clocks in as a 10-track album, and this limits the occurrence of filler. Even though I don't necessarily think filler is a bad thing, I just think albums are more tight-knit without them. Every song here is essential to the journey, and the overall journey is the most infectious thing about Portraits. Even with the tracks that aren't my favorite, I still get to learn something about Greyson Chance that makes me like him more and more. It's hilarious to find out that a song like Shut Up is based on a true story, or to find out that he routinely calls his friends at 2 a.m. when he's high. It's impactful to reflect on my relationship with my mother as I listen to West Texas. It's fun to see him embrace his wild side with a song like Black on Black, and it's intriguing to witness his growth with songs like Seasons 19. I would go so far as to claim that when it comes to the world of music, or pop music, Greyson Chance is a hidden gem. He's extremely talented, he'll only be getting better with time, and I can't wait for him to give us another album like Portraits.